Thank you very much. I want to say first, it's a great honor to have this opportunity to be part of this webinar session. You have chosen a very, very important topic, and one that it should be of great importance to every human being. So by way of introduction, my name is Pascal Dike. I am a JCI member. I'm always proud to say that. And well, I'm passionate about leadership because I believe that leadership is everything. And when we have the leadership right, then we can bring about the change that we need. So we're talking about peace. There is no way we can get peace anywhere in the world without the right leadership. So I just want to leave it that way. I am a JCI member. I have the opportunity, I've had it to serve the organization at different level, but I'm happy that today I'm joining this panel with wonderful friends of mine who have also gone this road with me. So I am a JCI member. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Senator Rania, could you give a brief introduction?
Yes, thank you, President Allah, for the invitation. It is always a pleasure to support our fellow members in JCI Syria. When President Allah first approached me to come and speak about the relevance of peace nowadays in my capacity as a past chairperson of the Peace is Possible Committee, I thought that that is possible and it's not a problem at all, but maybe we can make it more colorful and spice it up more. And then why not we bring in, if he has time, the gentleman who is behind the Peace is Possible campaign, because that campaign was launched under his mandate in 2016, President Pascal Dike. And then my successor who chaired the committee, Seppo from South Africa, and Kaspar in 2018 from Estonia. So as the saying goes, the more the merrier. And I do hope you will all enjoy the session today. As Mr. President put it, I am also a member from JCI Lebanon, and I have served the organization in different capacities, the last of which was the Peace is Possible Committee chairperson. And I feel very happy to be with you because, yes, as much as we are living in a very troubled world, especially now, other than all the trouble that we already had in the world, the cherry on top of the cake now came as the COVID-19. And definitely among the many things that the world needs right now is more peace, less discrimination, more tolerance, and coexistence. And thank you very much. And good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you. And now to Senator Seppo. Could you give a brief introduction?
Thank you very much for the opportunity and for the invitation as well. I'll take the same route with what President Pascal as well as EVP Rania have done. I'm an ordinary member of the organization, and having served as the 2017 chairperson of the Peace is Possible campaign, I've served in several positions, and I do believe that indeed peace is possible. We have to have the hope, but hope must be backed by actions, and those actions must become a norm to us on a daily basis. It's not always about running like huge campaigns, but it's about always adhering to certain principles of equality, principles of justice, and opportunities for all. So, you know, with that being said, I do believe that each and every one of us carries a spark of peace within ourselves. We just have to light it up to the world and change it from what it is today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And last but not least, with our Senator Kaspar, if you could give a brief introduction.
Thank you, Local President Allah. Thank you for putting it all together, and thank you, EVP Rania, for the kind invitation for this very interesting discussion panel which we had today. I have also been in several positions in JCI, but me personally, I believe in big ideas, and I think that every ideal which is making the world a better place is worth going for. and no goal is big enough to be afraid. So if we are saying that we want the world peace, not only peace of mind in our heads or peace in the community or in a nation, but I say that the Henry Kissinger's vision of everlasting true peace is something what we should go for, and this is why we are here as well today. And I'm happy that it just goes on quest, but President Pascal starts 2016 again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So let's start with our questions, and those questions are based on our members' daily questions. Actually, they always ask us those questions. So we thought of collecting them all and asking you those questions. So, President Pascal, what is the Peace is Possible campaign, and why have you launched it in 2016 when you were awarded president?
Well, first, I don't want to take, would I say, the glory for launching the Peace is Possible campaign. It was launched under JCI. Of course, it was an idea that I conceived, but I want to put it in perspective and correctly that that campaign was run under JCI as an organization. Now, the question we must ask first and try to understand is, what truly is peace? I will have said that peace is not the absence of conflict or war, but peace is the prevalence of justice, it's respect, it's equality, it's understanding, it's collaboration, not cooperation, collaboration. And therefore, if this is what peace is, the other question, therefore, is peace possible? Is it possible that I can respect the other person? Is it possible that I can take the white person, the black person, it doesn't matter your language, who you are, to be like me? Is it possible that I can collaborate with you? Is it possible that I can take one step back just to ensure that we can work together towards? The answer is correct. Then the peace is possible. It's not just a statement of purpose, but it's also a statement which asks every individual, what are you willing to do to make peace possible? And therefore, if peace truly will be possible, each individual has a role to play. So the Peace is Possible campaign is an awakening, a wake-up call to the people of the world. It doesn't matter where you live, to say a threat to peace anywhere is a threat to peace everywhere. That is what that is. It's saying you have a role to play, beginning from your family, to your community, to your city, to your country, and of course, making a contribution to a global peace. So the founding statement of our founder, Henry Kissinger, he said, from within the walls of the soul of this organization, wherein the foundation for good citizenship and character are laid, I hope a message will come in the sometime of tomorrow that will steer the people towards the establishment of a permanent and everlasting world peace. So from the foundation of JCI, the idea that young people can contribute to peace in the world was there. And therefore, it was just reminding JCI members through the Peace is Possible campaign that call of our founder is something we must take seriously and not only keep it to ourselves in our hearts, but also put it into action. And the only way to put it into action is to carry out projects around Peace is Possible, is to do advocacy, is to do campaigns, is to add our voices to conversations around the world that peace has no alternative. It's either peace or nothing. So we must work for it. And that was what actually informed that campaign, to awaken our members and the world that peace is something we must all pursue. That basically was the campaign.
Thank you very much. Very inspiring words, actually. I've never thought about it in that way, although I was a national director for the Peace is Possible myself in 2016. Thank you very much for the inspiring words. Now, moving to Senator Rania Haddad. What are the main issues JCI has tackled through the campaign?
Yes, just like President Pascal mentioned that it's not about just stopping wars, because if we go and preach to the people that using this campaign, of course, we would love to stop wars worldwide. However, this will probably not happen anytime soon. There are many countries that have different interests because of wars. They would like to test their weaponry and so on and so forth. However, the idea behind it was more to encourage people to accept others, whatever the difference, be they from a different nationality, from a different race, from a different religion, from a different sexual orientation, whatever it is. They are free to have their own lives as long as they do not disrupt our own lives. And that is why I think that this is one of the main reasons that this campaign was successful, and it continued for several years, because it wasn't difficult to have projects fall under it, because there are many aspects in life that you can work on in order to promote tolerance and coexistence. Like, I'll give you a couple of examples of the project that happened previously under this campaign to give you an idea of the wide range of things that would fit under it. For instance, that year, Benin, the Republic of Benin, was undergoing elections for their head of state, and they had around 28 candidates, which is a huge number. Now, JCI Benin, under the Peace is Possible campaign, came up with a project called Flame for Peace. And so they went and they visited around 6 main regions in the country in order to promote the importance of having a peaceful election. And they would invite community leaders, mayors, members of the parliament who are responsible for that region, for them to be present. And so the elections happened, and it was peaceful. And after that, JCI Benin did something that is very strategic, and they conducted like an award ceremony for all the parties that contributed to having a peaceful election, from TV channels and different media corporations that promoted it in a proper way, to candidates who behaved in a very decent way, to many other stakeholders. And back then, that project was really quite creative, quite innovative, and really very, very meaningful. Other projects that I can tell you many examples, but like the variety of projects, like we ranged from such projects to other projects. For instance, in Colombia, they hosted an activity in one of the schools about how children parents should deal with their children and not bully them and not like beat them and hit them and so on, so that there would be peace also within homes. So there are many different levels in which JCI managed to create impact through this campaign, under the idea of accepting others with all the differences that they have and being more tolerant and coexistent with other people.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Moving to Senator Chepo, if you could tell us what are the main achievements of the Peace is Possible campaign through the 3 years from your point of view. Senator Chepo, are you with me?
I'm here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to unmute first. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Before I get into indicating or highlighting some of the achievements of the Peace is Possible campaign, may I indicate, indicate that, you know, one of the things that made me passionate about the campaign was that we are all human beings, and therefore we are equal to the rest of the world. We are equal to everyone else, irrespective of color, creed, religion, and so forth. And I remember one quotation from a past state president of South Africa when he was talking about being an African. And he said that at times, this is a quotation, at times and in fear, I have wondered whether I should concede equal citizenship of our country to the leopard and the lion, the elephant and the springbok, the hyena and the black mamba, and the pestilential mosquito. So the basis of that quotation, and which inspired me, was we all have equal citizenship to this world amongst ourselves as people, but also with every living being and every component that makes the world. And we should always see that way, that beyond our citizenship, beyond our color, beyond our creed, we are part of the world and equal to anything else that exists in the world. The Peace is Possible campaign has been able to achieve three things in my view. The first thing is we have been able to do advocacy, so create awareness about peace broadly amongst young people. Not only young people within our organization, but even in other collaborative partners in communities, in other structures of society. So we have been able to bring peace as a main subject that sometimes people don't have not prioritized it. So advocacy is one element. The second thing that we've been able to do is to take action. EVP Rania was talking about the different projects, giving an example of Benin. Our members have taken action, irrespective of how small that action was. They have done something to, contribute towards the achievement of peace. The other thing is we've had knowledge sharing. If you remember, there was a summit in 2017, the Peace Summit, and that was a platform which the Malaysian government recognized and fully supported because they agreed with us that peace is possible and therefore capacitated or supported the capacity building of our members. So the knowledge sharing element was also there. And I think we have been able to make it clear to young people around the world that, as President Pascal was saying in the beginning, that it is beyond conflict and war, but about justice, equality, and so forth. Many people, when you speak about peace, they will think about conflict and war. And I think we have been able to create that level of understanding amongst young people that gender, race, things like crime and so forth, all those issues do affect the daily lives of people, and we need to address them in order to ultimately achieve peace.
Thank you very much for clarifying those concepts, because sometimes our communities, when we work on peace, they accuse of us of being hypocrite or dreamers or whatever, because it's not, for them, it's not real what we are saying, but the way you put it, make it so real and so relevant to our communities. So moving to Senator Kaspar, in your opinion, has the campaign achieved its mission after launching it for 3 years? And what are the challenges we are still facing till now?
Thank you, Local President Tala, for the question. Before that, I would like to address your comment. Even if it is a dream, we all must dream, because if we don't, then we don't have a chance. But if we do, then maybe the dreams come true. So, I also like to thank you very much, my friend Chepo, for these inspiring words which you took from this quote, and I really liked it. And from our point of view, actually, when I say our, I don't pretend to be knowing what the war is, or I don't pretend to be knowing what being a minority is. Because I'm coming from Europe, and the war has been far from us. But the peace of mind is something what we are looking for very often, and this is something which we can relate to much better. So that's why how President Pascal is putting what the peace is actually it's much more wider. And if we are looking what the mission of the Peace is Possible campaign is, then this is to mobilize young people worldwide to create awareness, advocate, and take action and commit to the everlasting peace. And if you're asking if we have achieved it, the fact that we are talking about it today, the countless projects, what Rania pointed out, a couple of them, the actions during the International Day of Peace, what we are doing as an organization, they are saying that we are living the mission. But are we ready? Although Senator Chepo brought out quite many achievements which we have done, we are not ready yet. We have not achieved the vision for the true and everlasting world peace yet. And so we have to keep living the mission. And we have to look at all of these challenges which are in front of us, whether it's poverty, hunger, injustice, and then find out, well, I mean, there's no true peace if the people are still hungry. There's no true peace if the people cannot afford basic living possibilities, or if they are disrespected because of their culture or ethnicity or religion. If we look at right now, the movement, Black Lives Matter, for example, which is going around the world, this is also showing that we want peace. We don't want we don't want to be disrespected just because we are Black, and so yeah, not to mention the violent conflicts which some people are going through. Also, you there. So we have still many challenges which we have to face, but we have to keep living the mission of the Peace is Possible campaign.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Right, you're right. You're definitely right. We have to live it every day by being role models for this mission, and so we can then achieve peace. Moving to the next second set of questions under the title of preserving social cohesion in local communities. As you know, COVID-19 has affected social cohesion, or will be affecting social cohesion in a way or another. So how JCI members and active citizens around the world in different local communities should tackle many challenges. I'll start with Pascal, President Pascal, to ask him, COVID-19 could undermine global peace and security, beginning with a further erosion of trust in public institutions if people perceive that their authorities are misleading them or are not being responsible for the responses or being not transparent with the issues of COVID-19. How do you think we as JCI members should tackle that and should work towards preserving the social cohesion in our communities? President Pascal, are you with me?
Yes, thank you very much for the question. Yeah, I was muted before, so I had to unmute myself.
Don't worry.
Now, if you look at what is happening around the world today, you can see there are a lot of mistrust. There are lots of concerns from different quarters, from leadership, the political organizations, businesses, even the World Health Organization. People have concerns. And when you go back to our local communities, the question you need to ask is, how are people taking this? And whether we like it or not, COVID-19, and in some parts of the world, the citizens are beginning to question their governments and the actions being taken. You talked about transparency. There's a lot of questions as to whether government and those who are responsible are very transparent. And in some poorer countries, where governments are expected to provide some palliative to support the poor, sometimes the money set aside for this is not utilized to the fullest in ensuring that people can get the support. So what people are going through at the moment is not just the COVID-19 and the consequences thereof. People are also suffering the fact that they are not trusting their government and those who are responsible to ensuring that they can actually, curb the effect of this COVID-19. So the question therefore is, what can JCI members do to ensure that we try to fill this gap? I'm aware that in different JCI national organizations, local chapters are taking different actions in their communities. I'm aware here in my country, a number of local chapters, I've done some what I call interventionist, activities where they have provided support to local communities and people who either have lost their jobs because of this, or those who cannot go to their businesses anymore, or people who were even before now disadvantaged. But that's why I would say that JCI will be the organization that provides, that connection between the three sectors of society. We must take that very seriously, because government is there, but government cannot provide everything that is needed. And it means we need to see how we can complement the efforts of government and businesses, even health institutions. And that is what most JCI organizations are doing. But there is much more to do. Now the conversation is going. And when you go on social media, there are a lot of things out there. Some of them are true, some are not. Some requires investigation. But as an organization, our job is not to investigate whether those things are true or not, but to ensure that we can support whatever effort is out there that is positive, to ensure that our communities can continue to coexist, to ensure that there are no violent disruptions. Because I've seen here in Lagos, where I live, in a community where young people decided to go, on a very violent protest because the money and the palliatives that were meant for them from government did not get to them. So JCI as an organization will have to feel that, because if people do not know what actions to take, they cannot protect themselves. That's what I call the PPPs, personal protective practices, PPPs, personal protective practices. So it's part of what government is doing, but JCI can also support that. But if you look at the other side, people have businesses that are suffering. Okay, and then there's something else I call the business protective practices. So JCI as an organization, why encouraging people to do the things that will keep them safe, must also look at the other side, the economic side, to see how we can also be doing some programs, online trainings, to empower people to say, look, there will be new normal. How are you preparing for that? So part of JCI's responsibility is to ensure that where government and some businesses and some authorities cannot fill the gap, that we step up to come at the end of the day, we have the world. Because whether we like it or not, COVID-19 will not live with us forever, but the consequences will stay for a very long time. So JCI as an organization must join the conversation to say we must do whatever is necessary to stay safe, support every effort of government or complement it that is positive, that is good, that is impacting, that will reach out to, and as an organization, continue to educate our people, our members and non-members on what actions you can take to ensure that economically you can remain alive after COVID-19, because it will pass, but the consequences will remain with us in the world for quite a number of years.
Very true, very true.
Thank you.
Very true. Thank you very much for this enlightenment. So moving to Senator Rania. Also, as you know, in same case for Syria and Lebanon, right now COVID-19 is causing the escalation of poverty and unemployment rates due to economic downturn or the lockdowns. What do you think? How do you think JCI members should tackle this challenge, this coming up challenge?
Yes. The new JCI tagline is developing leaders for a changing world. And what more major change do you think we might witness in our lifetime more than the aftermath of COVID-19 and all its implications? So I think this is definitely the right time for JCI members to shine in such a situation, because as per our active citizen framework, we work on needs analysis, and there are so many needs, especially economically, and when it comes to the basic needs now, like having food and so on. So and unfortunately the governments around the world, and even in the first world countries, they were not ready for this pandemic, although the history of mankind has it that as much as man traveled and as much as trade expanded, infectious diseases expanded as well. So throughout our history, we have undergone many different pandemics, from the Spanish flu to many other types of flu, to AIDS and many, many others. And so this is not something new. In our lifetime, it is of that magnitude that it is new. However, this is not something new for mankind. And that's why the governmental officials, as much as they will do now, it will not be enough. And at the beginning of your question for President Pascal, you said that people might be doubting the success of the plans that their governments are doing. We live in our countries, in our communities, and regardless if we believe in what they are doing, if it's good or not, we have to abide by that. This is our role as responsible citizens. And in addition to whatever they are doing, we have a major role to play as active citizens, as members of this organization. When it comes to economic empowerment, there are a multitude of actions that we can do. Supporting small to medium enterprises, buying from local shops, giving extra tips. For instance, all the webinars, many of the JCI national and local organizations shifted their trainings into webinars. Maybe now it is an opportunity to how you do business plans the proper way, how you do business models, and so on. So this is also an opportunity. And what President Pascal said, there is a new normal. Even people who are not unemployed now, even if they are in a specific job, because it is known probably that there might be another wave of COVID-19, and it might also lead to other lockdowns and even more damage on the economy. So maybe people can start getting creative, they can start getting innovative. They might like to shift their business, if they are, whether they are business owners or they are employees, they might come up with things to go with the new normal. So the webinars that our members are hosting can be open to the public, and they can be about such topics that drive the people to think about such initiatives. Even regarding poverty, there are many initiatives that our members can do, especially now, of course, cautiously, now that lockdowns around the world are now or have already started easing down. For instance, I've been seeing so many projects around the world. Last weekend, there was one of the major events in JCI Tunisia, where all the national board comes together with the local president. And I saw one of their posts, like, in this 3 months of the lockdown, they did more than 1,400 initiatives in their country. This is something amazing. The activities varied from putting up in different communities these sanitizing tunnels in which you pass through and then you get sanitized, to collaborating with different municipalities and the Ministry of Youth and so on giving out food packages and packages with basic needs for the underprivileged people and the elderly. So there are a multitude of initiatives that our members can work on, and I do believe, like, some people complain that what can we do? We had different plans to work on and so on, and now we have this COVID-19 pandemic. But no, you should be agile enough to be able to adjust your plans and just go with the flow and blend into the new norm that has been enforced on us.
Nice. It's really important to be aware of other JCI members' activities, to get inspired from them, and to do similar activities, also to share the knowledge among us on JCI website gallery, so we can also do similar activities ourselves. Thank you very much for such input. Moving to Senator Chepo. We are seeing an increasing rates of stigma, hate speech, and segregation in local communities due to COVID-19. For example, here in Syria, we have people who refuse to claim that they have, to report that they have COVID-19 or suspicious of having the virus, because they see it as a stigma and they refuse to go to the hospital or having the appropriate medicines and medical care. So how do you think JCI members, whether in Syria or in other countries, should tackle this challenge?
Thank you very much for the opportunity again. I think we need to create an awareness in society that COVID-19 is here, and unfortunately it will stay with us for quite a while. And therefore, people must understand that we have to survive this period. And maybe before I go on, let me touch on the definition of social cohesion, because I think it provides a good basis for what we can be able to do. So a simple definition says that social cohesion is defined as the willingness of members of society to cooperate with each other in order to survive and prosper. So it therefore says that there is an element of all sectors of society that needs to come together to, one, create an understanding amongst communities that COVID is here to stay. And we have to accept that, you know, within the measures that are given by governments, by the WHO, if we keep to those practices, we will be able to survive. And therefore, if somebody is affected by COVID, they should not be excluded from society, but they should be supported to survive and prosper. We've seen, living in a country where we have some of the highest numbers of HIV and AIDS, I must say that, you know, the impact of stigmatization has been so evident that it actually led to a lot more people dying than it is necessary. Same story with COVID. Unless we educate, unless we work with societies to understand that we must protect each other, we must work together in order to fight this disease, then, you know, we'll continue to struggle. So as an organization, I think one of the things that I remember we looked at quite intensively when we were doing when I was part of the strategic planning committee was that we are doing a lot of action in our own communities. However, there is not adequate advocacy. Advocacy is aimed at policy changes in the main, but also you're looking at behavioral change. So we need to come up with programs that will drive policy changes, make it easy and friendly, or encourage government to make it easy and friendly and accessible for citizens who are positive or who suspect that they will have COVID-19 to get services that will help them to survive. And I think that is an important role that we need to play. For behavioral change, it's about engaging society. We need to keep on running campaigns where we educate people. You will be surprised how many people, sometimes we take it for granted that people understand the magnitude of COVID until it hits home, until it hits families. I know in South Africa, maybe yesterday I got 4 or 5 calls from people who said, I am positive. And I know this week I've been in contact with somebody who's positive and I have to go test on Monday. So it's a reality. We have to calm society down and run the relevant advocacy campaigns in order to change policy, to make it accessible, to make services friendly, to make services accommodate people who are diagnosed positive. On the other hand, we must educate citizens to make sure that they support, or we all support each other in order to survive this current environment and prosper beyond it.
Thank you very much, and I hope you stay safe and tell us about the test after you do it. Tell us that you are okay and fine and you stay safe along with your family. Moving to Senator Casper, economic instability will have devastating consequences for women, as they will face more violence and will handle more responsibilities at work and at home. And we are already facing this in Syria. On daily basis, we have an increasing number of crimes against women, whether it's raping or bullying or hitting or thieves or whatever, or maybe killing them. We are having an escalating number of such cases. How do you think JCI members could handle such challenge?
Thank you very much for that question. And indeed, this is actually happening all over the world. This is happening in each part. It doesn't matter whether it's Asia, Africa, Europe, America. It's the violence which is disturbing me particularly the most, because for me it's very difficult to understand the need for it, but it is there. So I have been also talking with some of the mothers, because being just like a recent father myself, I'm seeking for questions and answers which need to be had for raising a child, to do it properly. So it's and many of them are saying that the COVID-19 is now putting a big load on them, and to cope with everything, and then also to have these quarrels or fights with the husband is very difficult for them. So what I have been hearing from them is that they would need help for the housework. They would need help with the raising the family. They would need the help with the violence. And earlier it was they could send the children to kindergarten. They could send the children to school, but now they are at home, so they need to home educate them. They need to prepare the food, meals, and in the same time get their work done as well. So what JCI members could do is give the helping hand as volunteers, to do it online, for example. I know a couple of examples. I'm actually in Latvia at the moment, in the forests of Latvia, in the neighboring country. Here in Latvia, they had a couple of situations where there was like a person, sometimes grandfather, sometimes a kindergarten teacher, who was then Skyping online and talking face to face with the children, just to keep them occupied, just to introduce them these things what they need to learn particularly, or tell them stories, hear their stories, look at the pictures and so on. So we need to start to use the technology for that. As all of the previous friends also mentioned here, that this is the new norm. President Pascal, EVP Rania, this is the new norm which we have to live in, and we need to retrain ourselves how to organize our lives in that, and use the technology for raising the children, putting them in the virtual kindergarten, so to say. And us as volunteers could then be the facilitators of, let's say, a group of children in different ages, or group of children in the same age, but then different volunteers can be in different ages. Same thing goes for the helpline. When I'm thinking about my questions, which I have, then many mothers are also looking for these questions from other friends. And as they cannot go out today and meet these friends, then they're creating WhatsApp groups. But similarly, we could actually create general WhatsApp groups or general places where people could ask these questions and seek for help with whatever questions they have if the child bumped the head, or if the child needs a shot, or and what I see in my personal work, we are also creating actually robocalls and robo systems to answer the questions. So we could use this technology to answer those questions. I mean, all of the mothers don't have the time now to go through all of the forums, because the answers are there in the internet, but you don't find them all the time. But if you can just type it in, and the smart machines can identify what you are looking for, they can give you the answer much faster, and it saves you time as well. So such helpline situations, or such helpline projects could be something what we can go for. And of course, with the violence, I think all in all, the violence comes when we are building the walls. When we are building the walls around us and building the walls between each other. With the COVID-19, we have to sit in, and we are basically building a wall between me and everybody else, but also keeping people inside. So what we need to do is simulate as much as possible the normal life what we have had before, meaning meeting people. And this can be, again, done through technology, because right now we are meeting, being thousands of kilometers apart and still talking about these issues. So this can be done also with the friends, and regular meetings with each other, as well as to keep out the hate between different people. It's always good to have the communication, the networking. So we are living in a new normality, and we need to adjust. And the technology is one of the things we need to learn to use much more than we are today.
Very true. Very true. Technology could be a good thing or a bad thing. It matters how we use it. We should use it in a good way, so it will be a very good tool to use. Thank you very much. Now moving to the third and final set of questions before taking maybe some questions from members directly. Let's talk about building peace during COVID-19. Senator Rania, should JCI local organizations, in your opinion, continue to execute peace building activities? Although it might sound a little bit detachment from reality, talking about peace while having COVID-19 and worrying about day-to-day payments. What do you think?
Definitely, this is part and parcel of our lives right now. I was reading an interesting article about a speech by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, in which he was talking about the surging levels of hate and discrimination, like on all levels, be it domestic violence because people are not used to staying couples together that long at home during the lockdown period, to parents mistreating their children because the children are in their faces all day long, schools are closed, they're not going to school, they're not going to the university. There's discrimination against migrant workers, many of them coming from Asia. Even in China itself, there is discrimination against people who are coming from the Wuhan province. I read something about like restaurants in Hong Kong discriminating against people coming from China mainland. So there is discrimination on all sorts of levels, even on the elderly, because they are the category that is most prone to getting infected. Some of them marginalize them instead of take care of them. And so definitely, there are many initiatives that we can work under in order to lessen the intensity of the discrimination. Now, it's definitely true that people are not living their normal lives. They are stressed out, whether they already lost their jobs or they have a salary cut or they are worried if they would be laid off or not. So mentally, psychologically, they're not at their best. and they don't know what the future has for them, let alone if they have elderly people or people who already have existing medical conditions, or they have children and they are worried about their future. But I like the slogan by JCI since COVID-19 started, that we are all in this together. And if we don't work together, then the more time it will take and the more aftermath we will have to cope with. So definitely we can work on peace building initiatives to stop discrimination, to assist economies around the world, to assist people with being mentally feeling better and psychologically better, and definitely to reduce especially domestic violence, which has which can really lead to devastating consequences, like if